Hey, yeah, Post Andrew here. Just a quick warning because I know and sometimes things happen. In this video, we get a little political, and I wouldn't say the things I say. I wouldn't do the things we do, and I wouldn't put this video out if I didn't think it was important to talk about. So much of what happens when politics talks kind of happens or whatever, it's trying to convince one way or another. I just wanted to bring up topics as I thought they were important to talk about. And I say this in the video, but you may not agree with everything we have to say, but I would respect if you would at least hear us out. And if you don't or whatever, that's fine. But part of discussions happening is that you hear each other out. And I think that's an important part of it as well. So just wanted to give a quick heads up because I know sometimes it's not what people want to hear. It's not what we want to do or whatever. I was even debating whether or not I wanted to put this video out and maybe re-record it. But overall, I still thought it was really important to do and to say and everything like that and all that stuff. So excuse my rambling and enjoy. How you doing today, my guy?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
One of the games that I like to... Obviously, I play a lot of Dead by Daylight, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had their update recently that brought the game into Unreal Engine 5.
Oh, okay.
And it is not handling it super well.
I was gonna say, I was like, how's that handling? Because it doesn't sound like it's either going to be a really good move and it's going to be seamless or anything like that, or it's going to be an absolute disaster.
I feel like eventually it's going to be a good thing. Like the game is going to look and run a lot better. The problem is right now, it is not working out super great. A lot of the animations are glitched out. Their frame rate drops up the wazoo. Like, I was playing the game last night and it was just like barely chugging along. It was all sorts of rough.
Yeah, it sounds like... Yeah, I agree with you. It's like, in the long run, it will probably be good, but right now, it's like, oh, I don't know.
They're just going to have to deal with a whole lot of different bug fixes and stuff like that. Like getting everything looking right, get everything running right.
Yeah, just that transition is going to be some growing pains.
Yeah.
For, the devs and the player base or whatever. So, yeah. Before we get too far, though, we probably should start with a intro.
Don't want to forget doing the intro.
Don't want to forget doing the intro. Maybe one day we'll actually remember to do it right away, but it's all right. Anyway, hello and welcome to another episode of It Never Ends. I am Andrew, and over there is my good buddy Alex. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How you feeling today?
I've been doing good. It's been a good day. Despite running on like 3 hours of sleep, I'm not tired at all. I can't tell if that's adrenaline or not. I get really bad insomnia sometimes where I just like cannot sleep. I just cannot sleep. I don't know what it is.
I have something similar where I just really have to force myself to go to bed. It'll be like, and you see, it's kind of weird too. I'll be like, at like 1 a.m. be really tired, being like, well, I need to finish this one thing before I go to bed. And as soon as I'm done with it, I'll be like wide awake. And it's like, I don't want to go to bed at all. But
yeah.
Fuck me, I need to go to bed.
Or like, or it would be like, what is it? Sometimes you just like, I just need to close my eyes for like 5 minutes. So you just like sit in your chair with your eyes closed for 5 minutes until like you do like where your head just kind of like goes down from your hand or whatever, and you just like you're like falling awake basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, and then I'm like, all right, feel better. You ever have that?
Not really.
Oh, I do that. I do that a lot when I'm just like where I'm feeling like bits of tired, where I'll just sit down and I'll literally just put like my fist under my chin, and then I'll just kind of like take a 5-minute power nap.
I wish I could fucking do that. There'll be times where I'll be watching stuff like late at night and being like, okay, I'm going to close my eyes for just 5 minutes and then I'll be up, then I'll actually go to bed. And then I'll wake up at like 4 a.m. or some shit, just like Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could take like a 5-minute power nap. That sounds upsetting. Kind of.
It's more of it shocks me awake. I feel like is more of how long I look at it. It's just like it's giving me a little bit of thing, and then it's just like that shock of just like kind of like falling basically wakes me up. That's more of how I put it. It's less about getting the power nap, and it's more about telling my system, "Hey, I'm fucking awake, so wake the fuck up."
All right.
That happens from time to time when it's really bad. It's just like sometimes in the mornings when I just can't wake up, I just kind of do that, and I'm just like, all right, I'm awake, rather than just talking about my very bad sleeping habits. One thing I wanted to point out, because I recently saw this was kind of growing in the news, is that there has been a lot of lawsuits put up by parents against the gaming industry about games being too addictive.
Okay.
It's not the first time we've seen something like this in the past, and in the past it really hasn't gone well for them, I guess. And
like who are they suing? Just like the games industry, or are they just like pushing for more regulation?
Big company. I think the idea is one, to get a little bit of money from these big companies like some of the companies are like Activision Blizzard, Epic, Microsoft, Roblox, Nintendo, Take-Two, Sony, all the big heavy hitters you'd expect to be there type thing. Surprisingly though, they didn't put Embracer Company in there though, which is kind of surprising to me. But as I'm reading through this, and anyone that wants to read through it can, it's pretty out there or whatever. Otherwise, I can post a link to it in the description as well. But what it really comes down to is that apparently these parents sought like help from like doctors with like PhDs and like behavioral psychologists and stuff like that. When it came to like their kids or whatever, one lawsuit says that it's for like a 13-year-old that was, so addicted, that they claimed was so addicted to video games that he caused physical pain, obesity, and rage and stuff like that. 21-year-old that said that he dropped out of high school because of video games. 24-year-old that says that she's so addicted to video games that it's causing her brain damage and lost of job opportunity and unemployment, and all the things you'd expect to come with it. Now,
what games are they playing that's causing all that?
Yeah, there are many discrepancies. It says like they're mainly it's like they're saying like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, to cite a few of them. Yeah, that's what I said.
It's on the parents for not telling those kids to get off their games and get a life.
And that's what I'm trying to get at here, because it's literally even stated in the article. I had it highlighted here and I kind of lost it, but it's just like all it sounds to me is that it's right here. It's like the lawyer says here that it's like most of the parents don't even know what's happening with their kids when it concerns to video games. So it's like, how are the parents supposed to know? It should be up to the gaming industry to regulate themselves about the over addictiveness of it. And I sit here going just like, no. That's not
no.
Anything is addictive. Anything in history of the world is addictive and stuff like that. You could say the same thing about drugs, and they said, but you don't see them like suing weed companies basically because their kids can't get off weed. How
alcoholism has been a thing since before history started, basically.
Pretty much. It's like, as long as alcohol has been a thing, alcoholism has always been a thing, basically, and it will continue to go forward. And it's like, I just wanted to point this out because I sit here going just like, and absolutely you nailed it on the head. It's like, it's just like, I get that games are, they're fun. They're supposed to be fun as for kids, but there also needs to be that healthy relationship between, gaming and, other things as well. It's like, if you just sit your kid in front of a computer or, tablet or whatever for 18 hours a day, it's like, is that healthy? No, of course it's not.
No. And the problem is that parents nowadays, that's just how they raise their kids. They'll put them in front of an iPad and expect that to do basically everything for them. They can watch kid videos on YouTube, and they'll play games on their tablet. And they want to blame everyone else but themselves when things don't go exactly the way that they hoped for.
Yeah. Just going back to this article though for real fast, one thing that they're saying is that what's making making gaming so addictive is the reward system. And I sit here going just like, but that's why people play. If you don't put a reward system behind, especially like games like Fortnite or anything like that, it's like, why would anyone play them? It's like, I don't know. It's like clearly parents are just trying to get a few bucks out of it, basically, rather than actually like wanting to do anything.
That's the impression that I get too. Oh my god, it's so bad.
And it's even stated in this article that even like some of the main lawyers or whatever are even saying that it's not looking good for when it comes to the defenses that they have and the accusations that they have against it. I think that they're thinking that the parents are just hoping that these big companies settle and they just walk away with a bunch of money.
Because the argument makes no sense. It's crazy because, like, I get in, like, single-player games, so they don't offer, like, a reward or whatever, but for games like Fortnite, you know, Call of Duty, they offer XP. You can get, like, cosmetics and stuff like that. That's all in-game stuff that, yes, it does encourage you to keep playing. They're not required to be like, okay, time to get off, time to go out and do stuff. These companies can't and shouldn't run your life like that. It's up to parents to teach self-control and full-grown adults, like the people that are say, oh, it caused brain damage and I can't go to college. It's up to them to regulate themselves and be like, okay, I gotta stop now.
Yeah, it's called being an adult.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it, and there's times where it's like, it does feel like these big companies, when it comes to like games like Fortnite and other things and stuff like that, will feel like it's like, oh, their whole thing is just take as much time as humanly possible from a person. But at the same time, it's like, but you're still in control of your own actions, you know? It's not like, oh, I'm forced to play this. No, of course not. Of course, no one's forced to play a game or whatever. Gaming is supposed to be fun, and you're supposed to have a fun and healthy relationship with them and stuff like that. You could say the same thing about, like we said, about literally anything and stuff. It's like alcohol, like going back to alcohol. Alcoholism is a thing, but you don't see people outright banning alcohol. It's like, no, taking in moderation and doing and taking and being responsible with it, you know, not driving and stuff like that, is the reason why it's still being a thing. Just keep a healthy relationship. I also want to point out as well is that social media companies have also been under the fire about this as well. You know, things like TikTok and YouTube and Twitter and whatnot. And it's just like, and I sit here going just like, and we're going to say the same things for the same thing. So at some point, I think people got to realize that we're in control of ourselves.
Yeah. We should be able to handle stuff like that.
God, I can't.
I feel like that something like this pops up once every couple of years.
Oh yeah, not even a couple of years. Just, like, it's getting like, it's to the point where it's like almost every 6 months I see something about this.
And it's just so frustrating to see it every time it does.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. It's just like, yeah, it's tiring, and it's like I end up just repeating myself like I feel like I am now. It's like I know I've said these same exact arguments in the past for this same exact topic. I'm a broken record. What can I say? I guess, but it's true.
I mean, I suppose that it is worth bringing up now. Like, do you think? Oh my fucking god!
Do you think? Oh my fucking god! Don't worry, God just is really showing up in Alex's room right now.
It is fucking me hard. Look at how bad that is.
Is the sun itself in your bedroom right now?
It looks like it, doesn't it?
It really does. It's really impressive.
Like, even if I stand, like, right in front of it. Oh my god!
That's very funny.
Jesus Christ. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll see if I can do something about that next week.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this, you can watch the whole excursions of how to defeat God within Alex's room on the YouTube channel.
There's a fucking like whole ass star in my room.
There really is. Like the sun has just like gone through your blinds and is in your room right now. It's crazy.
I wonder, maybe if I can just like fucking. There we go.
I feel like either that or we needed to put Onion right where the sun is, because then he truly is just God.
Sure.
Perfect.
There we go.
At least till the sun goes down. Anyway, you're gonna say something? Do you remember what it was?
Fuck. Oh yeah. Do you think like in general games are more addictive nowadays?
God, it's a hard question, because I think the answer is a yes and no. I think that games are reaching a point where certain games like Fortnite and like battle royale games, multiplayer games specifically, are to the point where they have a formula down where it's like people want to play because they find it enjoyable, and when you can literally just go into a game and then do something and then just go again, I think that can be very addictive, especially if you really enjoy it. But at the same time, I don't know, eventually you gotta eat, eventually you gotta shit, eventually you gotta sleep. You know? So it's like I do think they are, but to the point that, you know, these people are saying it's like, oh, I literally can't, stop playing or whatever. I'm like, it sounds like you just have a problem. It's not necessarily the games or whatever. And I think this kind of goes back to our point of, I remember when we were covering over like Apple versus was it Google or something like that? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And
no, it was Apple versus
Epic. Yeah, that's right.
Epic. Yeah,
that's what it was. Because it comes back to the idea of just like when it comes to the internet and anything like that, games can be included on top of the internet as well. Is that ultimately what it comes down to determining whether or not you're safe or anything like that? Should it be on? Because if we're putting it on Apple, if we're saying it from Apple's perspective, it seems like Apple is under the idea that it should be up to the companies to protect the people, whereas Epic says no. I mean, yes, we want to protect the people as much as possible, but at the same time, people need to be smart enough to recognize how to be safe on the internet as well. And I think the same can be said here in similar fashions, whereas these parents are looking at the game companies and saying, you guys shouldn't be so addictive. You guys shouldn't be so, taking up so much of my life. And because of that, you're making everything like wanting to hit, be so addictive or anything like that. And they go, but you were still in control of yourself. So can you really say that?
Not really.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is something that's been going on, really been like on the incline ever since like, let's say like the mid 2000s. Like, when did League first come out?
God, that was the thing when I was in high school. So that had to have been like, is it 20? When did Beta come out? League of Legends release date.
I mean, in general, I think like gaming's been like considered like a
2009,
big addictive, like a big like addictive thing since like 2009, and even like before that with stuff like COD and World of Warcraft. I can see how it's kind of ramped up in the past couple years, but at the exact same time, it's no worse than it was back then. And it's like you said, people are and have been in control of themselves, and if they can't control themselves, that's something they need guidance and
that's something you need counseling for. You need help from other people or whatever. And again, you can equivalent this to anything in life. Basically, it's like you see, like you see like hoarders, alcoholism, drug addicts, everything like that. It's the same idea, you know. It's
Yeah.
just so in the end, it's just like I get that maybe it's just like gaming industries are being a little predatory at times, especially to younger audiences, and I think that is a concern that should be brought up here. Do I think that the intentions necessarily of these of this case? Not necessarily, but I think
No.
it could bring the idea that maybe that these things should be regulated more. Like maybe it should be there, and it comes back to, because doesn't like Japan have like a pretty strict like, is it Japan or China has like a pretty strict like you can only play so many hours of a game or something like that, then you're like locked out.
I'm pretty sure it's China, and I'm almost positive that's just restricted to mobile games.
I know there was like something that they were either trying to get like a bill passed or something like that was like that would limit like hours on console gaming as well or something like that, or maybe it was just like gaming in general for minors, potentially one of the two. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Possibly. I can't see them doing something like that in Japan. In China, I think that's definitely a thing, and that's been a thing for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. So, but it'd be interesting to see if a case like this, I mean, I think it has to be a pretty extreme case, and I feel like the United States is too capitalistic to think that we're just we're gonna limit everyone's gaming to 2 hours a day, and that's it. After that, you're locked out of your Xbox, you're locked out of your PlayStation, you're locked out of your Switch, Steam, whatever. And it's like, no, that's not gonna really happen.
I couldn't possibly imagine something like that happening.
I couldn't.
I feel like the economy would take a pretty massive hit if that were to happen.
Also, I feel like you'd always get you get the people that are just going, well, this is my freedom to be able to play as much as I want type thing or whatever. It's I'm gonna go, well, not wrong necessarily, but at the same time, so.
I mean, if I could see something where, like, if they were diagnosed as, like, I mean, can you get diagnosed as an addict?
I'm sure you can. I 100% believe it's a thing.
If you get diagnosed or like declared as like an addict,
or if you recognize yourself you're an addict, because isn't that like the whole thing of sometimes like these like alcohol isn't like people is that they go to like these like therapy sessions and they go
like AA meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah, like those kind of things where you go like, hey, I'm so and so and I'm an alcohol addict or whatever.
I mean, I could definitely see like regulations being or like programs being put in place for people like that. But for like, I think the absolute grand majority, I think it just comes down to something that we collectively as a country need to recognize as just parents not wanting to raise their kids or, you know, punish or discipline their kids, because whenever something like this happens, whenever something like this goes wrong, you always have those parents come out, and I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
Where it's like, oh, it's never my fault. It's something the gaming industry should have taken care of, so my kid wouldn't get addicted. It's something that the food industry that should have taken care of, so my kids don't get so fat. Mm-hmm. It's something the films industry should have taken care of, so not so many movies are violent. You know, it's been going on for years and years and years, and I think it's worse now than it's ever been.
Oh, 100% agree.
Just in general of parents not wanting to take any accountability or responsibility.
I know, like, ever since the pandemic, and probably even before that as well, it was just like schools and teachers were under so much fire for, it's just like, oh, for the curriculum that like their kids are being taught and stuff like that, and everything like that. And it's insufferable to the point where it's like, I read like posts on like Reddit pages or whatever from like teachers that, and like literally recounting like their whole thing and stuff like that. And like if you're not scared of like what's happening in schools, like a lot of schools across the country, about how kids are acting in schools and everything like that, how little they're actually learning, and how much of a problem that's going to be for the future, and as a result, and how uneducated the United States could become as a result of that, is super concerning. And the fact is, like, kids are being taught less. Schools aren't handling it properly because anytime that they were, the parents will block them or anything like that, and then you'll start seeing more like homeschool kids, which homeschool is a whole thing in general. Do you ever watch like have you? I think I've talked to you about this before, but have you ever watched the show Last Week Tonight with John Oliver?
I've never watched, like, I don't watch like full episodes because I don't really get what that's on. But I've seen plenty of clips from him.
They post the main segments onto YouTube.
I've watched a bunch of those.
He did a segment about homeschooling not that long ago that scared the living piss out of me when it came to homeschool kids. Like, it was concerning to a very large degree. If you want to know what's going on with, like, a lot of homeschooling and how it's regulated, go watch that. It's concerning on a lot of levels. Like, a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like you never want to, like, marginalize kids, or, you know, you don't want to, like, prejudge them, basically. You know, when you hear, like, a kid's homeschooled, you think he's like super, you know, uneducated, that type of thing. It's like, when you look at that, though, you really wonder, it's like, are they actually learning the things that they should be learning from their, you know, parents? No, it's really good. And it's like, if you, like, honestly, it's like, I've been watching that show for ever since like they started doing it, and it's like super informative.
Dude, John Oliver is the best.
Fantastic.
I love him so much.
Fantastic. But it's just like, yeah, going back to the point, though, it's like homeschooling is atrocious or whatever. Schooling is like, it is getting to that point where it's so under government rule, and then the parents are also manipulating it in ways and stuff like that. And then, it's just really concerning. As somebody that was really like, I wanted to be a teacher at one point in my life, like I did, and then you sort of get into it and you see what it's all about, type thing, and all the processes and everything that it can go, and you go, how the fuck does this work? Like, how in the world did it get to be this bad? Because it's bad. And it's just like, people are always talking about how it's like, oh, there's a teacher shortage. There's not a teacher shortage. There is a respect for teacher shortage. And shortage on paying teachers what they should be paid, that type of thing. That's where there's a shortage. It's like, teachers don't want to deal with parents anymore. It's mainly the parents, and because if the parents are shitty, most likely the kid is shitty, because guess what? Again, the parents never actually parented the kid. All comes back to our point. It's going to be really concerning to see where we're at when like the next generation past millennials really grows up and is like, really, it's like Gen Z or what is the one after that?
Gen X or whatever.
Gen X or stuff like that. I don't know. I lose track of that, and who gives a fuck in the end? But it's like the younger kids, younger than us. It's like, I'm 30, and I'm sitting here going, just like, and I look at the kids below me and I just go, Jesus Christ, man. It's
I mean, I hate to be kind of like the doomsayer or whatever it is, but my prediction is that it's just going to get even worse.
I mean, it could.
Because
it really could.
Because when you consider, like, all these kids who really aren't being parented properly, they're
parented or taught properly.
They're essentially not learning from their parents, because it's like, oh, well, this is how I was raised. And they're going to do an even shittier job. And they're just, again, going to, like their parents, just push blame onto everyone and everything, because they feel like they should have no accountability.
And it comes down to, it's like, okay, if these kids are not learning from their parents or whatever, and they're not learning from the schools, where are they learning? They're learning from the internet. And I was literally having a conversation with Billy about this, but it's just like the internet is so like today's internet is so vastly different from the internet that we grew up on. It is.
Oh yeah.
It is so vastly different, and so I don't even know how to describe it necessarily, but it's just different. It feels like it's trying to take up your time. It's the amount of like, I think it's just because of like certain things that are all going along with it. It's like corporations are taking more advantage more of the internet, especially of like social media and stuff like that. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of like people my age, like 30, like anywhere from 25 to 30 years old and above, are just getting rid of social media. Like they're just dropping off social media entirely because it's a wasteland.
It's just so toxic nowadays.
It's so unbelievably toxic that I sit here and just going like, how could anyone let their kid on like Snapchat to, like, or like Twitter or anything like that and not feel like you're dropping them into a cesspool of just like crazy ass motherfuckers that think that, you know, the Holocaust never happened or something like that, and I just go, Jesus Christ, like that's legitimately scary. And then going back to the thing, it's like if the parents aren't, you know, watching the kids more carefully and regulating the social media that they're doing, and they start reading that kind of stuff and believing it, that's where it gets truly scary.
It's like, Mom, Dad, the lady that wrote Harry Potter says the Holocaust never happened. Is that true?
Yeah.
Well, son, if a smart lady like her said it, I'm sure it's true.
You know? Yeah, that's it's concerning. It really is. It'll be interesting to see how years beyond this will go, and will that actually end up happening? What will go on? And it's like it's really hard to tell, because you'd like to think that a lot of people aren't, you know, but crazy, but the more you look at it, it's like it feels like people are going crazy at a higher rate, and the fact is that there are still people who believe that, like, you know, the 2020 election was still rigged and stuff like that, and that Trump still won, and all that other bullshit. The amount of hate that's being thrown around against marginalized groups like the LGBTQ and like racial minorities as well, and it's just like, Jesus, my God, is yeah.
My hope was after everything that happened with the George Floyd protests, I was really holding out hope that things would get in that department would get better after that, and
No.
Oh my gosh, it just seems like everything has gotten so much worse. It's such a rapid fucking rate, dude.
It's like we're not trying to like say it's like, oh, be, you know, frightened of the future or anything like that. It's just like, but these are like legitimate concerns or anything like that. It's like if they're not taken care of or anything like that, or addressed at least, will be massive issues going forward.
The way we have to look at these is that these are all issues that to some degree are, I don't like phrasing it like this, there are simple answers to some of these things, and I get the future is a big and scary thing. It's like when you really look at it, not a lot of it looks good, but just push it to the back of your mind and ignore it is to be complicit in it. And to just let it all happen without you having anything to say or do about it, and just watch it all take its course. When it's important to embrace change, to look at what is happening and how you can influence it as a good thing, because the future is scary.
Yeah.
When you really look at the facts, a lot of things are going to happen, like, not that far away. I'd say in the next couple years. Even this year, sort of.
Oh, I mean, here's the thing. We're at an election year, like, and there's legitimate concern that, one, we're going to see like a Biden versus Trump all over again. And it really concerns me as to whether or not Biden will actually win again, if that is who it is. Look, people always ask me, it's like is just like, oh yeah, well, what do you think of Biden's like first 4 years? Not to make this like a super political like part of the podcast or whatever, but it's just like I oftentimes say it's like he's done good things and he's done bad things. He's done things that I think have helped a lot of people, but there's also things that he does that I think have really gone against what people have wanted in the future. Did you also do? I'm also curious if you saw this as well. Is that Biden signed a bill that was that would inevitably block TikTok within 9 to 12 months, depending on what, unless TikTok sold its shit, it like got out of China basically in that time and basically sold to the U.S. Like that is legit happening now.
Well,
yeah, I don't remember the whole report on it, but I was reading about it on Reddit during one of my lunch periods or whatever. But yeah, it's like basically they have, I think it's at 9 months, but he can extend it to another 3 months if they see legitimate progress, I think is what it said.
I mean, I'm sure concessions of some sort are going to be made. I don't know what those are going to be, but to completely ban TikTok in the U.S. just seems a bit out there.
It's really just also just stupid as well because it's a bill that's signed. It's like it was signed with like a foreign aid package that includes that it would basically ban TikTok if it was still China based or whatever. At least that's how it's framed. Into which I go, man, like I don't know. I sort of just like wonder it's myself. It's like and like as they're pointing out as I'm reading this and just kind of skimming this as well about this whole report is that they're literally saying it's for cyber protection and stuff like that. And I go, if it's really about cyber protection, there would be a bill about protecting collection of information, not just by TikTok but by Facebook, by Twitter, by all these social medias, by Google, all of them. It wouldn't just stop at TikTok. If that's what this was about, then it would be, but it's not.
I think it mainly just comes down to the U.S.'s mistrust of China.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, that's mainly where this comes from, I think. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I guess to an extent that's fair, but at the exact same time, it's like, if, like, data sharing and, like, data mining is really what you're worried about, like, not focusing completely on that, and
you're not focusing at all on it.
And like, singling out this one company just because it's foreign.
Just because it's foreign and it's the most popular of all the social medias. That's it. Like that's the whole reason. It's like when people tell you it's like, oh, this is about cyber protection. Bullshit. It's wrong. It's just wrong. Don't believe them in any way, shape, or form. This is about the U.S. wanting to be able to control what information that it gets. So they don't care if Facebook's doing it. They don't care if YouTube's doing it. They don't even care if Snapchat or anything like that is doing that. That's still whatever Facebook. But it's just like, but I sit here and just going like, but they will care about TikTok because it is China. I guarantee if this was any other country, they would not care. Would not care. I don't know. I
get that. So
And
I'll be honest.
And I think, so, and we sort of talked about this when this whole bill came about too. It's just like, as well. But I sit here going just like, TikTok is a good and a bad thing in and of a nutshell. It's the same thing I always said about the internet. It's a good and bad thing because the internet is a wonderful place, but also a very scary place. So you just got to be just how you use it. But for a lot of people, it is really. It's good for them to have. It's something that they want to have, and it gives them a sense of community and stuff. So, yeah.
I'll be honest about this. I don't think this is going to affect anything. As long as TikTok exists in some form, U.S. citizens are going to find a way to access it. Like, let's say, their servers are just banned in America. It's cool. Anyone can get a VPN on their phone. That's easy. Say they remove it from like all U.S. like digital download stores. Someone uploads a download link to Reddit or something. Everyone has access to it again. I really don't think if they put this bill through that they'll be able to enforce it very well at all.
Uh, I I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree because as a country that if the United States has this ban on this specific thing or whatever, they can block everything when it comes to any computers that are sorted within. I get what you're saying with the VPN, and that's probably the way around it. But at the same time, it's like if you were accessing it without a VPN, it would be next to impossible. And now we get to the point where we're becoming like sort of thing. And it all comes down to whether or not is this a breach into the First Amendment? Is this a breach of freedom of speech as well? It's like people should have the right to say the things they want to say, even if they don't agree with it and everything like that. Even if it doesn't mean it's necessarily a good thing or anything like that, but it's still they have the right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it so. That's what makes it so like I really. It's like you got a whole year, right? And it's just like, oh, great. And it's like, and with that, it's like, oh, Biden doesn't, automatically, get rid of his younger, especially his younger audiences. Basically, it was like, oh, see, I'm giving them the chance to, rectify it rather than just outright banning it like Trump would. And I go, but you still signed the damn thing, So, did you really? Or did you force the onus? I don't know. It seems like you forced them the deal. But anyway. It comes down to it's just
I think we all in general just kind of agree that we need a newer, younger like face or like face is just within Washington.
Yeah.
To start making these decisions because like old fucks like Biden and Trump and basically everyone in the House of Representatives that just are so out of touch with what's going on in the world today. These are not the people that should be deciding our futures. And it's so frustrating that none of them ever want to step down. It's always I'll have another 4 years, I want another term. I get it's their job, but my God, man, you are holding the country back so much. It's so frustrating to see.
And it's not, and you can say you can blame it on, like these older people as well, but at the same time, it is also the political party's fault as well. It's like, I talked about it last when the whole 2020 election happened, was that I remember having this discussion with my aunt because I tend to have these discussions with my aunt, but, I was telling her, I was just like looking into some of the candidates that they had for like the presidential election and like the other things of how during the House of Representatives, the Congress, Senate votes, all the different votes or whatever, is that the political parties of both parties, whether it's Republican or Democrat, are pushing these older people that they know could win because they're under the idea that if they put anyone that's not known in front of Trump, that they're not going to win. And I think that's stupid because it's not a fucking popularity contest. It's the president of the United States we're talking about. It is or the Senate or the House or even like something as simple as like a mayor position in like towns and like governor positions in states and everything like that. And I'm just like, why do you push these older people that don't understand technology? And we're under a point in time where technology has advanced so far beyond these older people that they don't know what the fuck even all this is. I barely understand it. I'm only 30 years old.
I mean, like, I think if they gave a lot of these younger candidates a platform, like they gave like Trump or Biden, I feel like they could be pretty well known.
They could. A lot of them, like looking into a lot of like their policies and stuff like that, they had, I thought, really good agendas for a lot of people that were going to be really good. It's just they never got their limelight. They were just pushed down by parties that failed them. Sad. It truly is. I don't know. It's so hard. It's so interesting to like see all this kind of like unfold in a way because it's just like ultimately it's like when these older people are finally die or just call it call it a day for once. It's just like when the younger people come in, it's like, will they basically do the things they said, or will it kind of be the same old, same old? I don't know, in all honesty. And you'd think that it'd be different. You'd hope it'd be different. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like every generation prior to us, has said the same thing. Again, not trying to scare you or anything like that. It's just like, it's like when it comes to like it's easy to just like go on to local news, or even like, the big news channel, CNN, whatever, and just like listen to what they have to say about the candidates themselves. But it's just like, I always remember in high school. Did you ever like take like politics in like high school or anything like that?
No, unfortunately not. My school didn't offer something like that.
Exactly. I that was an elective for me in my school or whatever. I was one of the first classes when I went to Middleton High School that we were the pilot, basically. We were the pilot class for what the politics class would be, that would end up becoming a required thing or whatever. And I think it was during that was the 2012 election.
I mean, for my school, I think our classes were just like scarily small. Like my entire like grade was comprised of like maybe like 20, 25 people.
Oh, well, I went to Middleton, which is like, we had thousands of us, so it's like a little different. But it's just like, it's really interesting because it's like we did that. I did that course during an election year. It was the 2012. It was when Obama got reelected, and it was just like, it was like really interesting. And one of the things that I remember my teacher really really taught us is that don't listen to, political ads or what the news says or anything like that. Look into each individual candidate. Look at exactly what they are, because most of them most, if not all, will have websites or information online that says what their policies are, who they are, what they want to accomplish as president, or Senate, mayor, governor, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's like, look into that kind of stuff, because it will tell you what they want to do and what it is that they're fighting for. And you'll find that a lot of the candidates, and I'm going to quote my teacher exactly, you'll find that a lot of these candidates are better than the ones that the media portrays. And I was just like, and I just went, really? And I remember going home that night and literally like spending hours sorting through the internet, going through each of their websites and whatever, and going through that, because that was like an assignment we had, is like we had to look up in like, and not pick one, but we had to look up each of the individual candidates, and then basically like, tell our teacher about these ones. And there were some pretty interesting ones, I'll say that. Ones that I think that potentially could have been better than Obama. We'll never know, because obviously that's not how history went.
Yeah.
But it's like, it'd be interesting to see if things would have went differently. And I think it would. Yeah, it definitely would have been interesting. It was hard, especially at that time, to say it's just like, oh, let's go with a new president again, because it was like, it was in a time where it was like, oh yeah, we're coming out of like a recession as well, and it was difficult for having, especially like a younger person to come in and to take responsibilities that, especially everything that in hindsight that Obama had to go through in those 4 years as well. But it's just like, I've done that for almost every election since, basically. And I find that a lot of them are way better than, I was like, there were way better options than Hillary Clinton in 2016. And there were way better options than Biden in 2020. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I mean, yeah. Like, when it comes to a lot of these political ads, a lot of them are created with the intent on, I don't like phrasing it like this, but it is what it is. They're trying to deceive their audience. They're trying to convince you, okay, you should vote for this person, you should vote for this person. And the problem nowadays, especially when it comes to like the election, is a lot of it is going to come down to this really fucked up culture war that we find ourselves in, where it's not Republican versus Democrat anymore. It's woke versus not woke, and
not wrong.
It's so sad that that's what it's come down to. And all of these, like, again, younger candidates that have newer, better ideas are just getting shut out to these, like, old fucks who know nothing about nothing and will...
It's just old fucks that are stuck in the past when times have changed drastically from when... like even when Biden was, younger or whatever and stuff like that, it's like you didn't have, and it's like you can say it's like, oh, well, it's just like, and it's just like, well, they're not legalizing like gay people or whatever. The fact is that women under Biden had lost the ability to even be able to like have abortions, basically. Like that's they don't even have that right anymore unless the state says they do. And I'm like, that's horrible. That's terrible. Like, no way. And it's like, if we're leaning one side or the other, I'm sorry. This is how we view it. If you disagree, that's fine. Part of whenever I talk about politics and stuff like that is that you don't have to agree with everything I say. I just expect you, because I will offer the same amount of respect, is that I will hear you out as long as you hear me out. That's all I want. And that, I think, can constitute whenever someone's talking about politics. Oftentimes, politics talks end up entering in a bickering contest between two people, and that's why people don't like it, is they don't want the screaming, the yelling, all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, if you frame the conversation with a person that you don't see eye to eye with just saying, hey, you don't agree with what I agree in, and I don't agree with you what you agree in, but let's see if we can't find some common ground. And I feel like that's lost today.
Just having a respectful conversation about where the country should go. A lot, like, if you look at the last, like, few years of, like, presidential debates, especially, like, the Trump versus Biden ones, it felt like almost, like...
They're all just smear campaigns.
Those, like, meetings that they have, like, smear campaigns and those... Have you ever seen those, like, meetings and, like, presentations they have, like, before a wrestling or a boxing match?
Uh-huh.
Where it's just two guys screaming at each other for most of the time. That's what it feels like most of the time.
Well, and it's just like, I'm sure you've seen them a little bit as well, but like, on like, like political ads already have started, obviously, but it's like, even in Biden's like whole like re-election thing, it's like Trump is looking for revenge, but I'm looking to the future type thing. If you were looking to the future, you wouldn't bring him up. I'm sorry, like that's just in general. Like, I fucking hate those ads. I'm going to say that right now. I don't care what it is. If you don't like something, move past it. Don't bring it up. Don't do anything like that. It's like the idea, it's like the whole idea of it's just like, don't let something get under your skin. But then you reference it literally 2 seconds later. It's like, it's getting under your skin. And it's just like, the more that it's just like, it's so fascinating when you look back at that 2016 election or whatever, and when Trump got elected. In like, I think that was a major defining moment in history, especially when it comes to the United States as well. It's just like when Trump got a political voice, it felt like all these people who were kind of pushed down. I shouldn't say pushed down, but it's like the crazy people who thought that, it's okay to, just be fucking crazy. You just come out of the woodwork.
In one of Trump's first major like political speeches, he made fun of a disabled...
That wasn't even when he was elected. That was when he was running for election.
No, that was during his political campaign. You're right.
How was that not the end of it, man? How is that not the end of it?
That should have been both the beginning and the end. And everyone treated that wasn't on his side treated him like a joke.
Everyone just laughed it off, thinking that, and it's just like, it's so crazy to me that to think that it's just like, how to phrase this next part I want to say here.
That no one just stopped and said, we can't move on like this.
Well, it's mainly...
This isn't how things should fucking work.
It's mainly that nobody gave Trump the idea. It felt like... I remember that 2016 day or whatever. It's like day of election or whatever. I was at UW Platteville like I think it was my sophomore year or something like that. Yeah, because I was still in the dorms, and I literally went to the building or whatever that they were having the elections in, and thinking that I was going to be there for a half hour, maybe more. I might be a little late for my next class or whatever, but I was like, it's important to vote or whatever, so I'm sure the teacher would accept that I was, voting or whatever. I went in there, fucking ghost town. There was nobody there. It was there was a few people there, and I sat there going, this is a campus of almost like 5,000 people basically. It's like, and we're right in the middle of town. Like, this is the polling station for the Platteville. And the fact is that people didn't show up. Nobody voted and stuff like that. And lo and behold, Wisconsin went to Trump. And it's just like, and there's more and more of these swing states votes, because that's how you win presidency. It's like, yes, the certain states have always kind of traditionally voted in certain ways or whatever. Doesn't mean they can't flip flop from time to time. Looking at Georgia, who voted Democrat for like the first time in years.
I do think while Wisconsin is slowly progressing to becoming a blue state, I think historically it's always been a bit of a red state, though. It's something I've kind of been talking to Billy about. It's
a swing state. And I say that because when you go outside of Madison and Milwaukee, it's like it is all Republican. Like you see a
oh yeah, believe me, I know.
It's a lot of small towns are very much believe and stuff like that. You'll see Trump signs flying all around and stuff like that. It's a little uncomfortable from time to time, but it's like, but then you go into Madison and you go and then you go, this is a very, very liberal city.
Absolutely. But it's like, I love Minocqua so much, but you go up there and you just will see Trump signs everywhere.
Yeah. So, and it's just like, obviously you have outliers and stuff like that, but it's just like, I mean, it's how most states kind of go as well. It's like, you even look at like New York, the fact but New York City is just so fucking big, and it's just so liberal that it's just like, it just overcomes the state. And that's like, and sometimes when it comes to Wisconsin, it's like if the Madison voters, the Milwaukee voters don't come out and vote, most of the time liberal or whatever, and then the people in like northern Wisconsin or whatever like come out and they vote, that's how swing states become a thing. I think that Wisconsin isn't necessarily like a red or a blue state. I think it comes down to who came out to vote that day. And because Trump succeeded in 2016 in getting all of his people to go out and vote for him, and the Democrats believing that Hillary had already won before the fucking thing even started, that they didn't even bother to go out and vote. And that's where this all started. It's and the amount of and I don't know if it's just because I'm paying more attention to it or anything like that, but it feels like people are taking more of an interest in politics ever since that.
You would hope so, but
I really hope so. But at the same time, it's like, but it also made me believe that people also care less about it as well, because it's just like, oh, I give up, and it's like, that's the wrong mentality to have.
Here's the problem. I think people care more about politics nowadays. I think the problem is there are so many more stupid people nowadays. Maybe it's just something that I'm recognizing. This
comes back to my point of when Trump became president, that basically all the crazy people came out of the woodworks. The people who were like, oh, I'm too scared to come out or whatever about being racist or sexist or ableist or whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, I believe in, I'm the alpha male type thing or whatever. I'm the true blue blood American, stuff like that. And I got my guns and everything, you know, that kind of stuff. It's just like they came out of the woodworks. They're louder than ever because they believe that they have a voice in Trump, and that is scary. And that is the main thing of where this all comes down to, is that giving Trump the presidency gave all these people a look, this guy did it, so I can definitely do it then. That is where it became dangerous.
It's just uneducated people falling for this shit too. Because Republicans, I hate that this is become a
I know
politics podcast, but
hey, it is what it is.
The complete like disinterest some people have to look into certain things that these like political figures will tell you is scary, because Republicans thrive on telling people like half truths or
absolutely.
just saying things that are completely bonkers, but you realize they're just leaving certain things out to make it in their favor
Or skew like skew facts or statistics.
Like we were talking about John Oliver earlier. Did you see the segment he had on the Tucker Carlson's
Yes.
interview with Putin?
Yes.
The fact that he and there are certain Americans that believe that Poland started World War II because they didn't want to get invaded by Germany is so batshit crazy. You want to believe that there's no reasonable person that would listen to that and believe it.
I mean, I would say the same thing about like all the stuff with like Alex Jones and like the Sandy Hook stuff or whatever. Years went by of Alex Jones declaring that Sandy Hook was all a hoax, that mass shootings never happened or anything like that. And I'm like, are you serious?
God.
And people believed it. You know, you still have people that still don't even believe that the Holocaust happened, for God's sakes. It's scary.
Yeah, you listen to these people and you like to think there's no way people are taking this shit seriously.
Exactly.
There is no way people are taking this batshit crazy nonsense seriously. And then you'll just find thousands of people that agree with it. And it's just, my God, if you looked into this just a little bit.
Well, it's just like, and then the people who say they do, and I'm like, where the fuck do you get these sources? How far into Google do you have to search, and how specific do you have to get with Google to get the batshit crazy shit you seem to find?
And they'll list like, oh, I watch, Fox News or read the Daily Wire and stuff like that. Like that's not a source that you can list.
No. Fox News is not even news anymore. It's just...
No.
It's ramblings of old men thinking that they know what's best for the country.
When the sources that you list are people whose job it is to convince you of these things, or you look for, like, confirmation bias on Google, it's like, well, I know trans people are bad because I looked up why trans people are bad on Google, and they told me why. It's like... Well, shit. I
guess you win, son of a bitch.
I guess you win.
Yeah. And it's like, and going back to your point, it's just like there's, with your idea that like, oh, nobody actually believes this stuff. I'm like, but there's more people who believe that, and then you find some crazy place, and you go, holy shit, this is actually like legitimately real. It is a wake up call, and it's like for people who live in like big cities like, New York, Madison, whatever, Chicago, that type of deal. It's like you never see it, but then you go out to like, what was the conversation we were having on Monday or whatever, that Cole doesn't really understand hick people or whatever. Like it was just never a scenario that he grew up with or whatever. And it's like, it's that kind of situation, right? It's just like, I'm not saying that he's ignorant for it. It's just that he was never exposed to it.
When you go out and you expose yourselves to those people, you step outside the ring that you've lived in your entire life, you'll find a whole bunch of really concerning shit that you never even thought about.
Yeah, it's like go out to like the smallest little town you could find or whatever, and you're gonna find people say the most crazy, nutty shit. It's like, and if you're a minority, it's like for like black people don't like driving through like small towns. Like they feel very uncomfortable, especially if it's predominantly white. It's like I couldn't even imagine that. it's ugh. But it's just like it comes back to that, and I just go, man, it's not good. Ugh.
Ugh. And so, like we've been saying this whole podcast, it's like, well, we're not trying to scare you.
We're not trying to be all doom and gloom here. We're not.
The future can be a scary thing, but it's an important thing to embrace because we're all going to be victims to it.
It's embrace and understand, one, how we got here, and two, what can be done about it. And it really comes down to is you just need to have general discussions with people. You need to have, it's just like people tend to shy away from talks like political and stuff like that. I'll even probably put a warning in front of this episode talking about like, oh, we're going to be talking a lot of politics and stuff like that. And it's like I already thought about it, and I'm just like, yeah, probably should definitely do that. But no, it's fine. Like I'm glad we actually kind of went this route or whatever. But it's like, but I sit here and just go like, but I think it's important to have these conversations and and for people to understand. It's just like, and it's why I frame these kind of like political things. It's just like you might not agree with what I say, but I want you to hear me out, and I'll hear you out if you hear me out. And it's just like, it's important to have these conversations because if you have these conversations, then I think things could start correcting themselves. They could start moving in a better direction and stuff like that. It's understanding people. It's seeing eye to eye with one another. That's really all it comes down to. It's just like, but nobody wants to see you come down eye to eye to. It's like you're either woke or you're not, and that's upsetting.
Yeah.
So, I hope that anyone listening to this, sort of agrees with everything. Maybe not everything we said, but it's just like, just generally kind of in the same feel as that. I'm not saying you need to, but it's like, I'm sorry if you feel that, trans people don't deserve human rights. I'm like, I'm sorry, just get the fuck out, please. Just get right out of here. I don't want to hear it. I don't care because in certain cases like that, you're just wrong. It's like
it's important to take the time to listen, to learn.
I will listen to things, but when it comes to certain things like that, there's only one.
I think for a lot of people, it needs to be said. If you're one of those people that a lot of people don't like admitting when they're wrong.
Oh, absolutely not.
When they're faced with contrasting information that proves something they think or believe untrue, a lot of times they'll just stick to their guns, being like, nope, this is... I believe this my entire life. I think that there is still evidence to support my claims. And I'm not saying there's any to support hate of trans people. I want to make that clear. But they'll stick to their guns because they're afraid to admit that they believed or propagated a terrible thing.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no shame in admitting that you're wrong or changing. The thing is, you should embrace it as a positive thing that you've gotten the chance to learn. And to grow. There's no weakness in changing your position in something like that.
Oh, absolutely not. It comes down to again I'm gonna reference growing up, especially in schools or whatever. It's like in schools you're never taught that failure is a good thing. In America, failure is referenced only as a bad thing and never as a thing that everyone fails in life. It's inevitable. You're not going to succeed in everything you do. It's just you can either take a failure as just a straight L, or you can learn from it.
Learn from your mistakes.
It's like not enough people in general are taught that failure is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just it just have you learned from this failure? What can I learn from this, and how can I improve myself as a better person as a result of that? It's like I could not. I wish I could go back to like fucking 8-year-old me and like and tell myself that, because boy oh boy, I probably like would have never quit like a couple things, especially that I wish I hadn't when I was a kid.
Can I admit something to you? It's kind of hard for me to do so, but it's something I feel like is important to kind of point out, especially in a discussion like this.
Okay.
There was a point in time where I may have gone right wing.
I mean, yeah.
I was an avid viewer of people like Ben Shapiro and stuff like that. But there came a day where they said something. Even back then, I was a pretty big like supporter of LGBT rights, and a lot of the stuff they said just was making me feel uncomfortable. So I started looking into some of the things that they said, a lot of the claims that they made, and I felt so betrayed, because it's like there were so many holes in the theories that they were coming up with and the things that they were saying. I was just flabbergasted and upset, because it's like, I listened to you and you lied to my face. And as time went on, I changed my positions completely. Hell, I still get emails from the Daily Wire and stuff like that, and God, want it every day to stop.
Yeah. No, I honestly, it's just like I was the same way. It's like I was like, I've talked about my dad previously or whatever, and he is definitely a hardcore Republican. I grew up in a very hardcore Republican, like Catholic Republican household or whatever, and I shared a lot of the values for a lot of years, but I grew out of that through a multitude of reasonings, and it's like one of them I think was from video games. It's like being able to understand people from different perspectives and different nationalities, different races, through all walks of life, I think helped a lot. And then there was also things where I was just like, I began questioning a lot of things, especially in high school as well. It was just like, I think I started taking more of an interest in history and going like, well, that doesn't really make sense, that type of thing. Yeah. And so as time kind of grew on, especially through high school, it's like probably by freshman year, I would say I was firmly like right-winged, kind of believe that kind of stuff or whatever. And then by senior year, I would say I was probably middle, more leaning left or whatever. And I still think I'm kind of in that boat. I think I'm middle leaning left in a way.
I mean, I feel like that's very fair. The two-system like political thing that we have in America is bullshit.
Dog shit.
I mean, I'm in a position where I would consider myself like more liberal too, but I'm not gonna just blindly agree with everything that the Democrats say.
Fuck no.
I just question the less of two evils.
Question everything. I tell people that so unbelievably often. Question every goddamn thing that you see on the internet, everything you're told, even from your parents and everything like that. Please, for the dear love of God, unless you know for 100% fact, this isn't facts that you make up in your head. No, this is legitimate 100% facts. Question it. Like, you hear somebody say that something crazy, like the world is flat. Question that. Is it really? No, it's not. For such and such scientific reasonings. It's like you do that, you learn a lot. It's wild.
No matter how old you get, you're going to be learning every single day.
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with the idea that you'll never be like completely 100% put together. Like, even as an adult, you're still going to be learning and experiencing new things. And
especially with how much times have changed and stuff like that. It's like, I was like, if you would have told like 15-year-old me of like pronouns are going to be a major thing when it comes to people's identity, I would have said, what the hell is that? I still don't necessarily know what it is, but I still respect people for if they, you know, are, you know, he or she or whatever.
He, him, she,
he,
them,
him,
like
she, her,
stuff like that.
that kind of stuff. They, them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like It's like you do you, man. If you want to be known as a they, them, I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
It's just important to listen and to grow and to learn all the time, even as an adult. And there's no weakness in that. Because to be ignorant of stuff like that is to be ignorant of reality, really.
Oh, I think it comes back to I don't remember where I heard this quote, but I think it's absolutely perfect. It's like it's okay to be ignorant. It's not okay to stay ignorant, though.
That's excellent. That's perfect.
I can't remember where I heard that quote from, but I remember hearing it a while back, and stuff like that, and I thought it was perfect because it's just like everyone's. I mean, where do you learn stuff? You learn stuff through experiences. In everything, in experiencing things, is you're going to be ignorant to certain things. But if you don't learn from those experiences, if you don't and learn to grow out of that ignorance and become more knowledgeable about it, then you go, okay, now I'm more knowledgeable about it. I understand this thing as a result of that or whatever. And even if you don't fully understand it, but you respect it or at least sort of understand it, I think that's good enough for a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fine. It's just like, and we go back to like these crazy Republican people or whatever. They want to stay ignorant. They don't want to grow. They don't want to know. They think that the whole pronouns things is stupid and everything like that. And I just go, you're ignorant and you want to stay ignorant, and that's a problem.
Because it comes back to, it's like, well, a lot of that stuff never was a thing when I was a kid, but it's like, well, it's a thing now.
The world landscape changes every day, man.
There's no shame in admitting that you were wrong, or just like learning.
Yeah.
The world's an ever-changing place.
The world is always changing. It is just what it is, and
everyone just wants to think all the time that they just got it all figured out.
Yeah. Or
this
it's just
is
like
the way that it's been forever, and it's the way it's always going to be.
It's like no. Two of the phrases I hear like all the time, and I'm guilty of the same. I'm guilty of it too. But it's like the people who always say it's like back in my day or whatever, and it's like, well, guess what? We're not in your day anymore. It's like we're in today day. It's like, I get that things were different back then and you have fond memories of it. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But you're living in 2024 now, bro. It's like you need to move on from those days or whatever. It's like I have fond memories of when I was a kid, and I have some funny memories that I tend to go back to as well. Nothing wrong with that, but I also have to remember that I'm living in 2024.
I mean, I think a lot of times too, people look at the past with rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I have fond memories of when I was a kid. I also remember that the political landscape when I was a kid was very fucked, and there was a lot of problems that I just didn't have to deal with. It's like, do I have fond memories of like 06 or whatever? Absolutely. Do I want politically America to be in the same place it was back in 06? Absolutely fucking not.
Fuck no. No. Yeah, I think it's just like, it's people wanting to hold on to the past too much and never really adjusting to the times and everything like that. It's like, I don't know. I think that's probably like the best way to describe it. It's just like, and then couple, especially like today, it's like couple that with like just the rise of technology and everything like that. It's like, dude, just think where we were 25 years ago when it comes to like technology and internet. It was a fraction of what it is now.
Oh, it was so different.
Like, we still had like dial-up connection and stuff like that, and now we have like high speed stuff or whatever, and it's like, it's like even like now it's like I was like with like Rooster Teeth like shutting down not that far ago. Like I keep hearing like like Bernie, or not Bernie, it was like Gus and Jeff talk about like how difficult like the internet was back, even in like, what was that, like when it was like, when did they start uploading like Red versus Blue and stuff like that? Was that like 06, or was that even sooner than that?
I think it may have been even sooner than that.
I think it might have been sooner than that. Yeah.
2003.
2003. And like they talk about how like difficult it was to like put out stuff on the internet, like to like machinimate stuff like that, and it's just like, and how easy it is nowadays or whatever. It's like they talk about how like, it's like when Rusty started, it was the thing that this was just how everything had to be done when it came to content creation, especially on the internet. Whereas now it's like everything can be done from your phone, to which I go, is and is not right. It's like, yes, I think the tools are necessarily at your fingertips. Doesn't mean they're always the greatest, and especially you need talent in the right hands. But I see his point of that for something that was so difficult for them to do back then is so easy for anyone to just go onto YouTube and upload a 30-second clip from something, or Twitch stream or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and that in and of itself, I think is just crazy as well. And knowing how far technology has come in just such a short time, like 20 something years or whatever, is just an insane thing to think about. And it's like, and to think where it will be like next year or the year after that. It's like, the fact is, like, gaming's looking of even just getting rid of consoles in general and going to cloud gaming, I think is nutty. And I would have never believed that was if you would have told me back in 2006 or whatever, that yeah, we're no longer, this PlayStation you have here, you won't need it in 2024 to play video games. And I go, no, shut the fuck up, you. It's like, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. It's like, that's like how fast technology has kind of come along. And as a result of that, like with the internet being bigger and stuff like that, social media taking over, people kind of finding like other people of similar mindsets, which is a good and bad thing, as we've addressed. But it's opened things up to like just an ever-changing landscape that has yet to stop and is constantly changing to this day, which I think is absurd. It's like when people like, that's why I always say, I was like, I'm the old man that's not on TikTok or whatever, that like, it's like the memes or whatever that kind of come out. What was the meme where it's like, oh, look between the T and the I of your like keyboard or whatever? I have no idea what the fuck that is. Do you know what the hell I'm even talking about?
I do. I don't get the joke.
I don't get it either. Like, but it's just stuff like that. It's like cultural stuff just kind of goes right by your things, and you don't even recognize it went right by you and stuff like that. It's wild. I think this whole, like, especially end of the segment, can basically just come down to shit changes really fast, and you don't have, and it's just like, and as long as you slowly kind of catch up to it as time goes by, I think it's okay.
Did you know that there are more than 13 seasons of Skibbity Toilet?
I still don't even know what Skibbity Toilet is.
I know, and I wish I didn't. Is where I'm at.
Well, I think we're kind of, that's worn me out as well.
Yeah, I'm basically in the same place.
Yeah. I think that was a lot, but I think I kind of got out everything I really wanted to say there, so let's go with that. So, if you're still with us, thank you all so much for listening to another episode of It Never Ends, because this truly never ended today.
Yeah.
This one, holy shit, we're an hour 25. I was thinking maybe we're at an hour.
No.
Fuck me. All right, well, that was a lot longer than I thought. Anyway, yeah, be sure to follow us on the links that I have below the show, or on the YouTube and anything like that, or everything. Be sure to follow the show. This is, if you're listening to the first time, what a fucking episode to drop in on.
To start it with, yeah.
Yeah. What it's not always like this, trust me. Oftentimes we end up talking video games like we did at the beginning, and then it evolved into whatever. Or evolved. I don't know, however you look at it, but it's like, yeah. And got anything else to say there?
No.
Nah. Let's get out of here then. So we'll see you all next time.
Okay then.
I don't know. If you don't got anything to say, let's get out of here.
Bye.
Bye.